Matt, do you know one of the largest banks in the world just increased their MSTR position? And we've got $216,000 Bitcoin coming. We're going to cover all of this and more in the discussion. Open water Bitcoin, freaks. It's here. It's here.
I love open water Bitcoin. Open water Bitcoin's the best.
Did you think we were going to get here as soon as possible? As soon as we have?
I thought we were going to get here sooner.
I did too.
I mean, you called it a super cycle like 8 months ago.
Yeah, well, it takes time. It takes time. It takes time to get into the super cycle. I feel like it's back on the table, though. A few weeks ago, I was saying maybe, hey.
You want to? Can you explain this $216,000 Bitcoin thing?
Well, there's a big bank that's buying MSTR, and if they buy Bitcoin, the price is gonna. We got a cliffhang. So for anybody here who's like wondering what's going on, anybody on YouTube who clicked and you're in here now, we clickbaited you because we've been doing an audit of our YouTube channel, and apparently we need to do clickbait stuff. And you need to catch people's attention in the first 30 seconds. But after that, the show's going to go on. We're going to do our powwow and laugh at it. JP Morgan, apparently they bought MSTR, and they're enabling their high net worth customers.
You already broke the cliffhanger?
Yeah, it's in. So don't leave. Stay. There's a lot more interesting stuff to talk about on YouTube.
I see Jacob in the YouTube chat asking, where do you stream to Zap? It's rhr.tv/stream is where the ride or die freaks dwell. And we already have a massive fat zap from ride or die freak Mav21 with 21,000 sats. Thank you, Mav.
I am in there right now. What a week. I haven't slept much this week. It's not because of the price running.
I had a freak. Why haven't you slept much?
I just haven't slept. It's been a bad sleeping week for me.
We've been giving, as a treat for my son, we've been giving him frozen cherries.
Ooh.
And he really likes them. And he woke me up. He woke me up 2 mornings ago with I woke up to a bag of frozen cherries on my chest. And him just pointing to the kitchen table.
Do they
the
pit
joys
them?
of fatherhood? No, they're pitted frozen cherries. But he's actually pretty good with pits.
A forbidden fruit for me. I cannot eat stone fruits. Allergic to them.
Allergic? Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, the skin of pitted fruits closes my throat.
Well, anyway, I had a freak. Nice. We got Goobtron in here. You didn't get clickbaited. This is the best show in Bitcoin. I had a freak ask me what open water Bitcoin is. Open water Bitcoin is when we're above all-time highs. Every number is a new all-time high. People don't realize that every number in the past and every number in the future will or has been an all-time high. And open water Bitcoin is the single best feeling in Bitcoin, because you just have no idea where you're going. But on that note, my vibe going into this show was, fuck the haters, we're in open water Bitcoin. We can just chill and relax. And Marty's vibe going into the show was, we need to up our YouTube clickbait and be better with the algorithm over there. And so that's the convergence of the two worlds. But regardless of how you got here, just know that we aim to be the highest signal show in Bitcoin. We've been doing it for 7 years now, since 2019, every week, never missed a week. So welcome. If you're just joining us, welcome. We hope you're with us for the next 7 years as well.
And if you're just joining us, you just experienced your first business on air segment. Matt and I talk business on air quite a bit. That was some business on there.
Transparency.
Open water Bitcoin. Enjoy it while it lasts. If you're new to open water Bitcoin, it comes and it goes. Who knows if we're in a super cycle? It may come and stay, but historically, it's come and it's gone. And
usually it's very short periods.
Yes.
And then the rest of the time, we live in the shadow of our all-time high, and all the haters call us crazy. and then we get to enjoy it again at some point in the future.
Yeah, it's like leap year Punxsutawney Phil. We come out every 4 years and see, like, we told you this was happening.
And then we ultimately make a fool of ourselves, and then it just crashes again, and then we come back.
Yeah.
As is tradition.
Yeah, as is tradition, we will open up Clark's dashboard, get a state of the network as it stands right now. Current price of Bitcoin is $111,680. Excuse me. One cuckbucks below 900. $1 is going to get you 895 sats. For those of you new to Bitcoin, sats are the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin. There's 100 million sats in one Bitcoin. We're at a $2.22 trillion market cap. We are at block height 897,882. There are currently 2,655 transactions in Clark's mempool, and we are 1,254 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, which is looking like an upwards adjustment of 2.3%. Price is going up. Miners are plugging in, trying to get that more valuable Bitcoin so they can be more profitable. State of network. Matt, big week for your boy. It's my Super Bowl week. Do you know what's going on?
I saw that. Palindrome week. Congratulations.
It's Palindrome week. May 2025. Every date between now and the end of the week, or the end of the 20s, is a palindrome. 5.
Pretty cool. Look at
2225.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Another big day. It's Bitcoin Pizza Day. We have to talk about it every year.
I
think it's important to touch on this.
Did you see Corn DeLorean's post
No.
on Pizza Day?
No, what did he say?
Logan, can you go to primal.net/Corn DeLorean? I can send you the link if you're failing.
Thought I knew how to spell that.
He's failing.
It's spelled exactly how it sounds. Corn DeLorean. There you go.
What's his so for those of you who don't know, there was a gentleman named Laszlo, made the first ever
Marty, read this out loud.
I can't. Introducing Pip 177 pizza improvement proposal. I can't read it. I'm blind.
You know, I spelled it this way first, and I was like, that's not how you spell DeLorean, because it's not. That's how you spell his name.
Corn. We're losing all of our new YouTube viewers. Hey, I promise you, stick with it. Introducing Pip 177 pizza improvement proposal to redefine pizza's base unit, currently known as a slice of pizza, to a whole fucking pizza. By removing confusing fractions, this PIP aims to increase mainstream pizza consumption. No longer will you need to be ashamed when your friends ask how much pizza you ate and you answer a slice. Now you can proudly boast, I ate a whole fucking pizza, which not only sounds cool, but is also easier for everyone to understand, according to me and the 5 other people who like this idea. Support PIP 177 today on Pizza Day and go eat a whole fucking pizza. Beautifully
so
poetic.
Fucking good.
So for those who don't get the inside joke, there's a big, not really big, there's like 5 people, Jack Dorsey being one of them. Jack, if you're listening, give up, Jack. They think Sats is confusing as a term. It's not. And Jack's out there pumping products that are using Sats as their base unit.
I think Cash App was one of the first major apps to add Sats as the standard.
Yeah. I don't know why he's trying to die on this hill.
I don't think he's trying to die on the hill. I think he's just bored.
That could be it.
I mean, he should just change Cash App to calling Sats Bitcoins and see how users accept it.
Yeah, see how many users are like, oh, I thought I was buying Bitcoins at a severe discount. I thought I had 100 Bitcoins. I thought I was a millionaire.
Anyway, I sidetracked you. Do you want to explain Pizza Day? Before you do, Soap Miner zapped us 21,000 sats in the Nostra live chat. Thank you, sir.
Soap Miner, you'll be happy to know I bought my first bars of soap this week. I'm very excited to get them. Paid in Bitcoin.
Best soap in the business.
paid in sats. Pizza day, prolific day in Bitcoin. Laszlo, the last name's escaping me, made multiple pizza purchases over the course of many weeks, $10,000 a pop. And they are the first sort of transactional use of Bitcoin outside of Bitcoiners sending it to each other for fun. Laszlo sent it to an individual, I believe, that was in another country. Laszlo was in Florida. Somebody was in Germany, or I believe. And they used PayPal to buy pizza from a local Papa John's, send it to Laszlo and his family. And so it's celebrated as the first ever Bitcoin transaction, somebody buying something in the real world with Bitcoin. And that happened in 2010, I believe, 2011 maybe. But Laszlo's typically in the mainstream sort of derided as this idiot who spent 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza that would today be worth $1.1 billion. Funny enough, Zero Hedge was tweeting out the Bitcoin worth, and now like, cumulatively, I think he spent 40,000 Bitcoin over the course of buying like four transactions to buy pizza multiple times. But Zero Hedge was honing in on the 10,000 Bitcoin for the first transaction, and that's worth today $1.1 billion. Papa John's, the company, is worth $1.3 billion. So Laszlo's transactions back then are like 3x Papa John's actual market cap today. Point being, people make fun of Laszlo and think he's an idiot and that he did something incredibly naive, but most people don't know that Laszlo is a very important figure in Bitcoin. He was the first, he built the first Mac OS implementation of Bitcoin, so he made it possible for people running Mac computers to run Bitcoin on their computer. He's also the first to bring GPU mining to Bitcoin. So we went from CPUs to GPUs, which made it much more efficient and faster to mine Bitcoin. He created the first one of those, sent us on the trail towards ASICs, which are used today. And I don't think anybody should feel bad for Laszlo. If I had to assume, I think he did pretty well for himself in the early days of Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some speculation that Satoshi was a little frustrated that he had come up with the GPU miner when he did so early. And this was kind of his way of giving back to the community because he mined a ton of Bitcoin using his GPUs because they were way more performant than CPUs. But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be like a day where you pity people who spend Bitcoin. I think the other part here that people fail to realize, and I think it was highlighted today by Saylor's tweet, where he was like, pay in dollars, keep the Bitcoin, eat the pizza, is if you were buying pizzas back then and you didn't know what Bitcoin was, you could have bought Bitcoin instead. So it's the story of Bitcoin opportunity cost is a story of every person who pays for anything with any kind of money and doesn't buy Bitcoin. Every dollar you have is effectively a short on Bitcoin because you could own Bitcoin instead. And very few people understand this. So and I think, Marty, we have teased it, but we haven't given them more information on your little extension that you vibe coded that converts everything into Bitcoin. But I think that really highlights it. It's this idea that spending Bitcoin is a financially imprudent decision is in effect a fiat mindset, because you should just, if you're not holding all of your savings and wealth in Bitcoin in the first place, you're guilty of it even worse.
Agreed. And on that note, good plug. We're working on a rough cut. You freaks, anybody listening here, exclusive rough cut of the commercial for Opportunity Costs, the app that is under review in the Google App Store right now. Hopefully will be approved momentarily, hopefully in the next few hours. Should be live to everybody tomorrow. Logan, check Signal. I sent you a video there. We can play that. But yeah, this whole idea of if you're buying things with dollars in the real world, those dollars could have been Bitcoin in the first place. So you're always sort of weighing the opportunity cost. Do I hold Bitcoin or dollars? As an individual, I will speak for myself, but I think Matt aligns with this, who has moved to a Bitcoin standard, saving your money in Bitcoin is incredibly advantageous, particularly over the long term. So holding as much of my money, my wealth in Bitcoin as possible has worked out for me in the long term. And so what we're trying to do at Opportunity Cost with Opportunity Cost is really drive this message home. Boom.
So basically, it just converts every dollar price you see or dollar amount you see, not even just prices, into Bitcoin terms or Sats terms, depending on the amount.
Yeah, it's really cool on Twitter and Primal or Noster when you're going and somebody puts a dollar amount in and immediately converts it to Bitcoin. And some of the athlete contract extensions are some of the most fun to do. It's like Brock Purdy signed a big contract extension. And when it's priced in Bitcoin, it's like, oh man, he should really be dumping anything he's getting paid up front into Bitcoin.
Bitcoin and Clyde is asking if it harvests all your data. Yeah, probably.
No, it doesn't. The only external call it makes is to a caching server we built to get the price. So to make sure that we're not pinging a price API too much, we built a caching server that's the only external thing that you ping. It's going to be open source. We're going to put it on GitHub too. So if you want to fork it, download it yourself, and not trust the repository or the website, you can do it yourself as well.
Vake is Vake's Ride or Die Freak Vake says, Jesus Christ, zapping on Zapstream is a nightmare. I just want to scan a QR and click send. Yeah, I mean, we're working on it. We'll make it better.
Come on,
Order
Vake.
of operations here.
Vake's a boomer coiner for those of you. Longtime freak. Don't be a boomer coiner, Vake.
It's amazing how many zaps we get considering how difficult it is, but we'll make it better. Operation Bitcoin Zap 21,000 sats says, if you're running a miner, consider donating your hash rate to Operation Bitcoin during our Memorial Day weekend telehash starting 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 1400 UTC, Friday, May 23rd, and running through 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 0200 UTC, Monday, May 26th. Learn more at operationbitcoin.io. Great guys over there.
Great guys over there. Great guys everywhere. Is everybody having a great week? We're at all-time highs. We're in open water Bitcoin.
Having a pretty great week. By the way, I own the open water Bitcoin domain if anyone wants to buy it.
You really? What would we do with that domain?
I've owned it for like 4 years. Since the last time we were in open water Bitcoin, I've owned it.
We should just make a cartoon of Jack and Rose, and it's just like a video on loop.
I own openwaterbtc.com too, so like it'll be a package deal. You can have both.
Yeah. All right, we've got a list for any of you new to the show. We typically create a list and walk through some topics. The first one, pretty big one. If you've been paying attention to international markets and even markets here domestically, particularly bond markets, not great, Bob. Japan specifically has lost control of the long end of their yield curve. Their 30-year and 40-year Japanese government bonds are at, I think, the 40 years at an all-time high, 30 years at its highest level since the beginning of the century. And this is not good for the Japanese economy. They've been, for the longest time, the Bank of Japan and the Japanese government instituted what was called yield curve control, where they would print enough money or issue enough bonds to make sure that yields were within a certain range. Last year, when inflation started to rise in the country, they gave up on that to try to reel inflation in, and the yield curve has gone parabolic in the last week specifically, and I don't think they've solved the inflation problems they have either. And I think the other big headline out of Japan is what we have up here is the fact that the Japanese prime minister came out and said that his country's financial situation is worse than that of Greece, which is a pretty stark admission from the Prime Minister of Japan, which, for those of you who are unaware, Japanese are very proud people. They typically do not tried to show weakness, and the fact that the prime minister came out and said they're in a worse financial situation than Greece, which is the laughing stock of Europe, is pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, Greece is like, that's really bad.
Right. Really bad. And it has implications here. The U.S. 10-year yield is above 4.5%. The 30-year yield is above 5%, or at least it was last I checked. And unless you've been living under a rock, you should understand that we have to roll over a ton of debt in the coming years, trillions and trillions of dollars of debt. And if the yields on those bonds are high when we roll that debt over, it's going to increase the interest expense on our debt. And so pretty bad situation all over the place. And as Japan loses control of their yield curve, I believe they're the largest owner of U.S. Treasuries with $1.2 trillion in exposure. If they find themselves in a position where they're trying to bring their yield curve down, one way they would do that would be to sell U.S. Treasury bonds $4 to try to push their curve down, which would send our yield curve up, exacerbating our interest expense on the debt problem. Yeah, not great, Bob. That's why you're here. All of this is going on, and it just highlights the importance of Bitcoin. You need a neutral reserve monetary asset that is not beholden to the whims of central bankers and politicians. You put it first on the list. I feel like you have something you want to touch on this.
No, I mean, look, I think that was clearly the biggest news of the week. I mean, I think anyone who read Mandibles knew this was coming.
Yeah, you've been trolling me on this.
Yeah, I mean, should I not be? Is that why you're using it less?
I am. I didn't. In honesty, I didn't use many platforms that much this week.
You're too worried about me posting a nice artistic picture of the Mandibles cover.
I have not zapped today. I'm gonna fix that.
Dude,
I'm sorry, freaks.
I'm still stuck in the. I'm still stuck in the mind frame that you hit me right before we launched with, I know a brilliant way to get us more viewers on YouTube. And it was just putting $216 Bitcoin in the title. It's like, oh, wow, genius.
It is. So you new YouTube viewers that are here, let this be a lesson. Like, why do we need to clickbait? Like, we've been doing the show for 7 years, high quality. I get a ton of DMs every week and people like, love Rabbit Hole Recap. You helped change my life. And we have to bend the knee and succumb to the clickbait on YouTube. It's YouTube specific. It's not your fault, actually. It's YouTube's fault. But YouTube's building it this way because they recognize that you're easily manipulable and will click on a certain thumbnail with a certain color scheme and words and title.
Yeah, we're not even on the thumbnail anymore. Who'd you put on the thumbnail? It's Sailor. Who's the other two guys?
Jamie Dimon and the Prime Minister of Japan. I really threw that through a loop.
Well, I'm looking forward to $216 Bitcoin.
That would be awesome. $216.
Yeah.
Go back to 2015 levels. Next up on the list, Steak and Shake.
Wait, one last thing. Okay. It's kind of crazy to me that what's the Japanese 30-year is at like 3.5% or something.
The Japanese what?
30-year.
I think, yeah, it's like 3.5. Maybe like 3.6 now, which in bond terms,
isn't
like a 10 bip.
But
yield.
Isn't that crazy?
It's 3.165 right now.
Isn't that insane that that's what the panic number is? Like 30 years is a long fucking time to lend money to a government that's in a worse financial situation than Greece. And you're only getting 3% for that?
Yeah, it's insane. But if you
like, it could go a lot higher, right?
Yeah, but if you look here, we have the 10-year chart, and it's way higher than it has been historically over the last 10 years at least. Like it hovered below 1% for the better part of a decade.
People won't. I mean, who's like someone lend me money for 30 years at 3%? That'd be dope.
Yeah. No,
I'd be more likely to pay it back than Japan.
Yeah. I mean, Japan's got a terrible birth rate crisis. I believe their birth rate's like 0.6 or something like that. Aging population, no economic growth. The government is essentially buying the stock market. The government and central bank essentially own half the stock market, half, I think the central bank owns half the JGBs, the government bonds. And yeah, we've like, it's literally, whether it's the Japanese government, the US government, European Union, the UK, it's like, would you give a crack addict a $100,000 loan and expect to get paid back?
No.
They've got the best crack though. They learned how to make the new crack. It's going to be hot on the streets. They promised this time they're not going to smoke their own supply. They're going to get clean, and they're going to run a tight ship, and they're going to get that new hot crack out there and make a profit. I just need $100,000. I'll give you 3.5% over a 10-year period. I promise this I'm going to get clean this time. This is what the governments do. It is insane when you sit back and think about it, that we've been so conditioned as a society, as a financial system, to just continuously lend. And like, I don't know if you have it on the list, but the big news of the day is the big beautiful tax bill. Like Trump came in with Doge and like we're gonna cut all the cost, and the big beautiful tax bill, like literally no spending cuts. Like, I think spending's gone up significantly. We're going to have to print more and issue more debt.
Yeah. I mean, this chart is fucking crazy. The one of the debt across presidents, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Like the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy chart. I mean, when I saw the, here, Logan, this one. When I saw the panic news about, look how insane that is, the U.S. deficit. Just, we've clearly passed the point of no return. I don't think this is solvable. I think you just have to stack sats about it and just protect your family.
Yeah, you can't vote your way out of this.
What I was saying is when I saw people panicking about like a Japanese sovereign debt crisis, I assumed the 30-year rate was going to be like over in double digits or some shit. And I checked and it was at like 3%. I was like, holy shit. Okay, well, this shit isn't priced in yet.
Well, their yield curve control for the Japanese 10-year, they tried to hold it at like, I believe 10 bips for, it's either 10 or 25 bips, like less than 1%, their 10-year bond. And they did that for years, which is insane. And another, I mean, building on this topic of you can't vote your way out of this, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Like, big, beautiful tax bill that was just signed, I believe, today. No spending cuts. Spending is definitely going to go up. Biggest military budget in history. I believe it's officially over $1 trillion now. And Scott Bessent, too. Secretary Treasury Scott Bessent, who talked a big game coming in, basically implicitly acknowledged that they're going to print their way out of this crisis. The debt's going to go up. We're not going to mess with the debt ceiling. This is why we Bitcoin. You can't depend on these people. You can't vote your way out of this. You have to find solutions that are external to the people creating the problem. The people who created this problem are not going to solve it. That's why Bitcoin exists. And it seems like Shake Shack recognizes this. Do you think they're holding
not
the Bitcoin?
Shake Shack. Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake, excuse me.
I think they're holding some of it. We don't know for sure. But it seems like there's someone there that's savvy with Bitcoin. Anyway, Steak and Shake, which has been around for a while, one of the first fast food restaurant chains, I didn't realize how long they've been around. I think it's the 60s.
It's an incredible staple in the Midwest. When I was in college and we had
1934. They were founded in 1934. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they just started accepting Bitcoin. And I just want to like this. So there a bunch of people went and bought shakes and burgers and fries with Bitcoin there. A couple, and then posted on social media, a couple big things, the big takeaways. Because first of all, like it does feel like eternal September from like the 2013, 2014 days where like every new merchant was like accepting Bitcoin and then converting it to dollars and people were getting super excited about it. But this implementation is probably the cleanest point of sale implementation we've seen to date. It's powered by a relatively new company called Speed LN or Speed Lightning that's based out of Dubai. It's Lightning only. And so the transactions are instant, settlement is final. And because it appears that Steak and Shake has fired all of their frontline staff, everything is already computer screens. So you don't have to train the staff how to use Bitcoin. Like a common issue we see where these stores start accepting Bitcoin is like a month goes by and then like one random person comes in and wants to pay with Bitcoin and the staff have no idea what he's talking about. Well, in this case, they just go up to the screen, press the pay with Bitcoin button, see a QR code, scan it, boom, done. The staff don't even have to know what's happening. So I feel like this is a perfect example of Bitcoin merchant adoption done right and in a sustainable way and a scalable way. So maybe it is the start of a trend. I don't want to jump too far ahead of ourselves, but it's pretty cool to see.
No, it really is. Shout out to Speed Wallet and Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, Midwest staple. In college, club lacrosse, we had the luxury of flying places or getting buses to places. We caravan to places, and whether we're going from Chicago to Iowa or Indianapolis or Missouri, inevitably there was one or two Steak and Shakes on the way to our final destination, and you better believe that we made it a priority to stop at Steak and Shake. Incredible burgers. Just moved to Tallow Burgers, but to your point, there is somebody at Steak and Shake who's on top of this, and I think this has flown under the radar. They've been tweeting like Mises and Austrian economic jokes for like the last 6 months. So their social media manager, at the very least, is an Austrian economist or is leaning into that. And so there's somebody within the Steak and Shake organization who is like a hard money maximalist Austrian studied individual. And so it seems like they're applying their economic philosophy, economic philosophical beliefs to their business, which is good to see.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that as well. A couple of things here. First of all, I don't think they're using beef tallow for their burgers.
Just the fries.
But maybe they are. They're definitely using for the fries. Now, Tallowgate, as someone who really does care about avoiding seed oils, I think it's important to highlight that their fries are like pre-done in seed oils before they arrive up at the store. And then in the store, they only use tallow. So you're still getting seed oils if you eat their fries. Just a be aware, freaks moment.
Beware. One step, add it one step.
Yeah, it's still good. Process. It's still good.
Five Guys, they were the ones that were claiming because they do peanut oil.
They use peanut oil, yeah.
Is that not a bad seed oil? Is peanut oil better?
It's better than seed oils, worse than avocado and butter and tallow.
Yeah.
There's levels to this. But
I think
but yeah, it's still a good sign.
Logan has something to say. Go ahead, Logan.
I was gonna start, and I blanked on the name of the place that's right across the street from here.
Pete Terry's.
They had peanut oil, and then they switched to canola or something, and they're like, "Ooh, look, it's heart healthy canola oil that we've switched to here."
God damn it!
Been in Austin for 4 years. I've not been to Pete Terry's yet. Is that blasphemous, Logan? She's shrugging. I don't know.
But anyway, it feels like a good trend to watch is the marketing boost that places get switching from seed oils. Like I feel like we're definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah. And cautiously optimistic about merchant adoption. I mean, comparing this to merchant adoption meme waves of years past, I mean, 2013, 2014, Bitcoin Jesus, Roger Ver was adamant about it. And the problem then was twofold. Number one, there was like 10,000 people in the world that maybe had Bitcoin, and probably 500 that actually held it in a wallet that they controlled. Actually, that's not true. But point being, not enough people had Bitcoin. You go to the merchant, like convince them, like, hey, you should accept Bitcoin. They'd be like, all right, I'll figure it out. Maybe one person every 6 months would come and spend Bitcoin. You would have the problem that Matt described earlier, which is like the person behind the counter is like, I have no idea how to do this. And then on top of that, at that point, it was all on chain. And so you had like to wait 10 minutes. Like it's the meme that many idiots will still throw out there. You can't use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange because it takes 10 minutes to confirm. And so like you're waiting there at checkout for 10 minutes for confirmation. That problem existed then, but since then, we've had developments like the Lightning Network Layer 2s to make instant settlement possible. So you can send a bearer asset over the Lightning Network and it settles immediately with the merchant. And on top of that, the UX has gotten better, as you mentioned, QR code point. And you have apps like Cash App, Strike. Like people have access to commercial apps that make it very easy to just like point, click, send. Primal. I've been using Primal app here. We have a POS system for Bitcoin here at the park in Austin, and pull out Primal, scan the QR code, pay, done. Very easy. So to your point,
yeah,
I think if we wanted to push the merchant adoption meme again, there would be more success this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen is basically a long grind of improvement. I question a little bit how quick it'll happen, but regardless, I mean, fantastic to see. Like no matter how you cut it, awesome success, awesome rollout. People seem excited about it. People were driving like 3 hours to Steak and Shakes to pay with Bitcoin. And ideally, I would love a world where I can spend Bitcoin on everything I need all the time. And hopefully we'll be there soon. The sooner we get there, the better. But it does. Someone in the live chat, Caleb, was making fun of me. Eternal September, more like Eternal Matt bringing up Eternal September each episode, which I took that personally. Paulie zapped 21,000 sats. Logan, have you seen the zap?
Don't do it.
Come rocket.
He paid.
He did pay. How do we not have like some idiotic thing Matt said on the soundboard?
You get a mandibles button?
Yeah, we should get a mandibles button. We should.
I disagree.
Wouldn't claim that's idiotic, but I think it would be good. Speaking of merchant adoption, Bitcoin being used as a medium of exchange. On that note, on Nostr, Nostr just passed a significant threshold, which is 5 million zaps have been sent on the Nostr network.
I think this is massive. And I don't know. So this is recorded by Nostr.band. I think it's probably higher than this. I think it probably isn't picking up every zap. I will say that based on internal Primal wallet metrics, Primal is almost at 2 million zap cents on Primal alone. 2 million Bitcoin payments have been sent on Primal. And it's really only been a stable app for 4 or 5 months. And what we have, I don't know, maybe we have like less than 100,000 active users on Nostr, and we have 5 million Bitcoin transactions. That's a pretty cool trend to watch. I mean, we 10x the users. What happens to that number? I think this is a pretty big landmark, so that's why I put it on the list.
Yeah, that is massive. 5 million Bitcoin payments on the Nostr network. And do you have Routster on the list?
What?
Routster, that thing that Jack was pumping.
No.
I'll pull it up, but to this point, like, for those of you who are new on YouTube,
pumping it?
Yeah, Dorsey was pumping it. He was pumping Sats as a unit of account. You'll love to see it. But Logan, pick this up for the new listeners here. Nostr is a distributed communications protocol that Bitcoin has natively fit into. But here's an example of an application: Nostr, Bitcoin, in AI. It's called Rouster.com. So basically, a decentralized LLM routing marketplace. So if you want to pay for
That's cool.
pinging particular LLMs, you can use Bitcoin. And this allows you to ping these LLMs privately. You don't have to set up an account. You don't have to set up a Stripe account and connect your payments. Rouster is enabling you to access a marketplace that exists on Nostr that will connect you to proxy servers that will give you access to these LLMs, and you pay in Bitcoin and Sats. I think specifically in eCash tokens using the Cashew protocol.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It is.
Pseudo Carlos, zap 21,000 sats. Remember when Cash App was making sats the standard? He questions.
I think we forced that on them. Should we give the freaks a little history lesson of RHR?
No, there was no that's what the haters don't understand. Like, it was all very organic.
Oh yes, no, it was organic. I mean, you started the Stacking Sats meme, and we worked it into the Cash App was a sponsor of the show back in the day when you created that meme, and we worked it into that ad read, and it took on a life of its own. People were taking screenshots of their Cash App Bitcoin purchases, saying, "I just stacked Sats."
Yeah, even Dorsey tweeted it out. Hashtag stacking sats.
Yeah, Jack, you may not like it, but we're the reason Sats is standard on Cash App, you know?
Well, people, you can call Bitcoin freedom units or whatever the hell you want to call them. There's no Bitcoin naming committee.
It really isn't.
There's no Bitcoin CEO.
There isn't. But I believe Wallet of Satoshi has a CEO, and he has decided to return to America.
This is awesome. And return to America as a self-custody wallet. Wallet of Satoshi is one of the most popular Lightning wallets, but historically has been custodial. After the Samurai developers got arrested, they pulled out of the U.S. market to protect themselves from a regulatory perspective. And now they plan on returning in a self-custody way. I still no KYC. I don't know. I don't think they've released any specifics on how they are actually going to do that in terms of self-custody Lightning, which has always been a difficult nut to crack. If I was a betting man, which I actually am, I would bet that it's probably has to do with the Breeze SDK. I wouldn't be surprised if they do some kind of Aqua Wallet-esque liquid at rest type of situation. But who knows? Maybe it'll be more like the Phoenix model.
This is really cool to see. I was discussing this with Adam. I had Adam back on TFTC yesterday. We were discussing this maturation. We've talked about it on RHR many times in the last few months, but again, I think this just highlights a confirmation and a validation of this theme of the Lightning Network acting as this connective tissue between second layer protocols. And as Matt said, we don't know exactly how Wallet of Satoshi is implementing this, but I would be safe to assume that it is similar to the ways that Aqua, Bull Bitcoin, and others have, where you're basically using the Lightning Network and Liquid or something like Liquid and Bolt 12 and the Bolts API to basically make a seamless payment experience where you can leverage something like Lightning and Liquid to solve the inherent friction that comes with setting up channels and managing those.
Yeah, I mean, I will say and I see Bitcoin in Space 2's comment with bad experience with the Aqua model. I mean, all these models have issues with very small amounts. Small amounts get ground up in fees, especially like you have to do swaps and stuff. And so does Phoenix. I mean, the Phoenix model, which doesn't use liquid, ultimately, if you want to make a sovereign Lightning channel, you have to have at least one on-chain transaction. So there's still a lot of work to be done on the smaller amounts. And maybe the smaller amounts, the best model is something like Cashew, where you have like an interoperable open protocol for custodians until you can move to a more sovereign setup. I really like what Zeus has done on that front, which is if you use Zeus in light wallet mode, you can start with Cashew and then you can have it automatically make a channel once you hit a certain amount. And because it's Cashew, Zeus doesn't have to be a custodian. You could use any other custodian as the custodian for that. So Zeus is protected from a regulatory perspective. The user is able to have low fee, cheap, fast, easy payments right in the beginning. And then once the risk gets to a certain level, once they have a certain amount of money in the wallet, they can move to a more freedom-oriented, secure Lightning experience.
I think that's going to be the model that wins out in the long run, just because of that payment friction or that fee friction that exists with the Lightning to liquid model. I think eCash, due to the ability to do things, not have to do swaps, but just use a Lightning payment gateway to go from the mint to the Lightning network. I think it's much cheaper, much more advantageous.
Yeah, we do. Every year we do a 1031 portfolio retreat where the founders of the 35 companies that 1031 has invested in are invited to an off-the-record retreat that I'm discussing right now. But it's off the record.
Chatham House rules.
And we played poker. with Bitcoin this year. And one of our buddies was the bank. He was a house, and he decided he wanted to test out his fresh new Aqua wallet. And I think by the time we were finished with the poker game, we had lost like 10% in fees, to the point where like he thought someone hadn't paid, but it was just swap fees that he hadn't accounted for. And like, that's not a good experience. You can't have that.
No, I think the eCash model's much more preferable. I love the way Zeus has implemented it, and our trade-offs there. eCash mints, particularly on Cashew, centralized, not self-custodial, but as Matt mentioned, this sort of transitionary sort of starter position, build up a balance, and you move it to a self-custodial wallet. Zeus, you can do it in one place.
Marty, I'm very, very... maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I don't think it matters what we call the title. Like, if we're not just pumping Bitcoin stocks the entire show, like, we're just the YouTube algorithm's going to hate us.
No, we got spammed. We had spammers in the live chat.
Okay, that's a win, I guess.
Wait. Let's break down MSTY, Strike, and Strife. How are you going to make money?
Go.
I'm kidding. You're not going to make money. MSTY, actually, I recorded with Jesse Gilger from Sound Advisor yesterday. We talked a lot about MSTY. Be careful with that. Like, it's derivatives on top of derivatives on top of derivatives. And if a large MSTY holder decides that they've made enough income in the distributions that ETF is giving out, and they decide to pull their principal out, they could rug everybody else. So I would not trust like British HODL and all these people being like, use MSTY as an income generator and stack Bitcoin with it. Like, you could end up losing your principal. So just be aware.
I mean, MSTY is like a different beast, right? Because it's doing like a covered call strategy where it's trying to give you dividend yield off of MSTR's volatility. Like, it's a completely different beast than the preferred Bitcoin offers. Treasury stock mania. Oh no, and it's a completely different beast than that too, which is like the Strike, and which is confusing fucking name, and Strife. which are the preferred stock offerings by MSTR that pay out dividends. But in the case of these ideas of these like cash flow schemes, I think it's actually kind of similar to shaming Laszlo for the pizza purchase, because if you're doing one of these cash flow schemes, you're not buying Bitcoin. And so like one example I'll give there is River in October announced their yield account, right? Their dollars gets you 3.8% APR or whatever in October. If you put $100 into that in October, you'd probably have like $105 right now. If you put $100 into Bitcoin, you'd have like $170. So it's like, yeah, you get to feel like you're getting cash flow or whatever, but the opportunity cost is actually owning Bitcoin. And we've seen throughout all the years that we've been in Bitcoin, people always have these schemes. I'm going to buy a investment real estate property that pays rent so that I can afford my life or whatever. And in every situation, they would have been better off owning Bitcoin instead and selling little bits of Bitcoin every time they needed to pay for things. Now, at some point, that will probably change, but we're probably still pretty far away from that. And so if you are doing some kind of cash flow scheme, you have to denominate it all in sats. You have to think of it in Bitcoin terms. That's the opportunity cost. And so in real estate, for instance, they have a concept called cap rate, right? Which is how long does it take for the cash flow to return your investment? And then you're in the black and you're a profit. That cap rate needs to be higher than the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin, which over the last 10 years has been like 50%. Maybe you could discount it to like 20% or 30% based on adoption and diminishing returns. But I promise you're not going to find a single piece of investment real estate that gives you a 20% annual cash flow return. That's just not going to happen. And same with these cash flow schemes.
Yeah, there's a lot of real estate private equity guys here in Austin. Town's booming, but it's been funny to hang around a lot of them and the way they talk about. Yeah, we got a 5 cap. We actually got a 4 cap that we're targeting over here. So yeah, the slang in real estate private equity makes me chuckle. It's funny. We got a 5 cap. I had something else to say.
But in Bitcoin terms, they're losing money, and they just don't even realize it, is, I guess, my point. But teach their own. Buy what you want.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I want to say. Like, been around the block 12 years now, maniacally focused on Bitcoin and everything happening around it. Markets can remain illogical longer than you can remain solvent. I'm not saying I'm shorting any of these strategies or making any bets against them.
Don't do that.
But internal pattern recognition alarm bells going off. Like, there's something, like, be careful out there. If it sounds too good to be true, it just may be too good to be true.
Marty, remember when you called a super cycle and I said we're going to see levels of degeneracy you can't even comprehend?
Yeah, you were reminding me earlier this week.
I think we're seeing the early innings of that.
Yeah, we're probably inning 2.
I think some people are going to make a lot of fucking money. Most people are going to lose a shit ton of fucking money. And I think the signal and somehow the alpha in 2025, the alpha is still just stay humble, stack sats to cold storage. Like, literally just buy real Bitcoin, be relentless about it, be very deliberate and careful about it. Don't over leverage yourself. Make sure that you're solvent. And just keep getting that Bitcoin number, your Bitcoin savings number, up over time. Those will be, if you do that, you'll outperform 99% of participants long term.
That is quite literally the only ironclad, like, evergreen successful strategy in the world.
Yeah,
Bitcoin and broader crypto. Just stay humble, stack sats, sweep to cold storage, stay at your job, do not retire, keep producing income, spend less than you make, and sweep the excess into Bitcoin. It's pretty simple.
So simple, it's complicated. And it goes the same for businesses. Like, it's individuals, businesses, same advice applies. That's financial advice. That's life advice. That's the way. And somehow, once again, 2025, unpopular opinion. Don't know how that's possible, but it is.
Have fun staying poor. I'm all in on Misty, bro. See you on the other side.
You don't understand. Watch this 60-minute video.
No, the signals where it's like you have the traders who emerged like 6 months ago, and now they have like man on the street people following them. Like, when's MSTR going to $30,000 a share? And you have like a cult following.
Yeah.
The furthest we'll get towards that is a clickbaity thumbnail and title. We're going to get you. We're going to tell you MSTR is going to $30,000, and then you're going to get in here and we're like, we're just kidding. Stay humble, stack.
I mean, look, I think $216,000 Bitcoin's in play. It just happens to be, $105,000 away from the current price.
Yeah. A lot of price talk, a lot of adoption talk. Bitcoin is a hard asset. Only 21 million will ever exist. It makes sense to hold it, but Bitcoin enables other things. It's freedom tech. It's permissionless, and it gives people the ability to protect themselves from despotic governments, dictatorships, corporations, whatever it may be. This leads us to the Human Rights Foundation story of the week coming out of China, where China has injected billions to stabilize the economy. The Chinese Communist Party has injected 138 billion in liquidity through interest rate cuts and a 50 BIP reduction in the bank's reserve requirements, in effect expanding the money supply by 12.5% year over year. While the state eases monetary conditions to prop up a fragile system, ordinary citizens are left scrambling to preserve the value of their savings. Bitcoin to yuan trading volumes jumped over 20% in response as people sought refuge from a weakening yuan. I know when Matt's laughing, I thought this was going to be like they're seizing people's money. They are in another way, but while some can quietly escape the harder money, others are trapped in a system that treats access to money as a privilege. In Hunan, an elderly woman in a wheelchair died outside a bank. I'm sorry for laughing. I just wasn't expecting this. Died outside a bank after being forced to appear in person to withdraw her own money for medical care. Too weak to pass mandatory facial recognition scans, she collapsed after repeated failed attempts. To hear more depressing stories like this and other, make sure you sign up for the Financial Freedom Report newsletter at financialfreedomreport.org.
I mean, to be fair, they mix in depressing stories with like positive, uplifting, optimistic things.
They do.
It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a tool among multiple tools that allow people to empower themselves and to escape out of these incredibly dystopian, shitty situations that happen every day around the world. Like when I say mandibles and Bitcoin Standard, people don't realize in a lot of places mandibles is deep, late in the game, has been happening for a while. In other places, it's just on the surface, but it's easy to lose perspective there. And I think HRF does a really good job of bringing perspective. The reason I was laughing is because I also just learned that I shouldn't read the live chat while you're reading depressing stories. The live chat made me laugh. So don't take that the wrong way.
Are they making fun of me?
No, yes, usually. I have to refresh to see which MPub this is. It's not working. Fuck. But someone said, I love how they said they weren't going to talk about Misty, then proceeded to talk about it for 15 minutes.
We talked about it for 2 minutes tops.
Yeah. Well, it felt like 15 minutes. I thought it was funny. And then also I laughed at your signal message of the live viewers on YouTube. And you said it's working.
It's working, dude. Yeah, it's depressing. I don't want it to work.
No, you want to know what's the really depressing thing? The really depressing thing is Marty turned on monetization on TFTC videos years ago, and on YouTube monetization.
Business
so
on air,
Google
another
putting
business on a
ads,
second business on air segment for you new freaks.
Google putting in ads directly into the stream if you don't pay for YouTube Premium. And I put a line in the sand and I was like, no, we're not turning on YouTube monetization for RHR. So since then, both shows have lived in the same YouTube feed, Marty's interview series and RHR, but RHR hasn't had monetization. And what Google does is they don't recommend your video if you don't have monetization on, because they don't make any money. That is some dark fucking shit. It's really fucked up. And we have to make that obsolete. Like, what is the point of what we're doing if we don't make that obsolete? That being said, today we turned on RHR monetization on YouTube. So if you don't want those ads, you can watch on Zap stream, and you won't get them.
Yes, that is true. No, it is. It's, we've talked about this off air before. Business on air, though. Like, it's rational. If we think the content is good on the other side of the clickbait or the other side of the ad wall, I think it's worth it getting the information out there, you know? And it's not like if you go to our YouTube and you know anything about YouTube monetization, you'll be able to see that we're not like making any amount of money on YouTube. That is material that would run a business. Feed
no,
a family,
but YouTube's making bank. That's what's even more fucked up. YouTube's making bank.
Google. Dude, we're humming right now. We have to stay on. We might have to do like a 4-hour marathon. They're pumping us into the algo. We turn monetization on.
Dude, open water Bitcoin, I'm down to just like hang out, chill, answer audience questions. Feel free to put audience questions in the chat. I've been floating all day. Anybody who says that it doesn't affect them or whatever, you're fucking full of shit. It's the best feeling in the world. It's like we're all on the high together, you know.
Especially if you've been in it. Especially if you've been in for a while, and you're particularly the wives. When the wives are like, "Oh," they look at the block clock. You're like, "Oh my god, 110,000. You want to go out to dinner tonight?" It's like, "Yes, honey, let's go out to dinner." You know? Yeah.
In my house, when a new number is hit, like you hear it, everyone yells that number. You know, 111. We're at 111. Whoever sees it first, you have to yell it out.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have some questions in Fountain, but we don't have any boost over 21,000. I
see Jared Straight saying you caved, haha, come on, and he said it in the YouTube chat. You know, be the change you want to see in the world, and say that in the Zap stream chat, and then we'll see who caved and who didn't.
Jared, you absolute hypocrite.
Look, I think that's why people that think I'm crazy for leaving X and going Nostr only and focusing so hard on building out Primal in terms of our work at 1031 is that's our goal. Like, our goal is if we can make Primal into an ethical, user-forward, fully open source stack, social media, comms, identity, super app. You know, the freedom alternative is something like a TikTok or a YouTube or a WeChat all combined, or PayPal all combined. And it's going to be a long grind, but I think we could get there. And I would just say that if you have used a Nostr app at some point in the past and you had a shitty experience or whatever, come back and try it again. I think the Primal app has come a long way. And I think the purists who think that Primal's made certain trade-offs, I would say make your apps better. I would love to see more competition there. But if you haven't used Nostr in a while, download Primal on your favorite app store and try it out and come join us, because every user that shitposts on Primal helps everybody. You can be the change you want to see in the world, one shitpost at a time. But we want to add video, streaming, everything.
I mean, we talked about it at length last week, but for me as a writer on top of a podcaster, the publishing experience on Primal articles Primal Reads is incredible. And said it last week, but I will belabor the point. Like UX increases like that are going to be massive for adoption. And Nostr been kicking for what? It started 2021. Like 4 years, four and a half years almost. I think it was January 21. Still very
but
early
it
days.
wasn't really in a stable situation for the first 2 years or so.
Yeah, whether you're comping it to Bitcoin, it's like
really bad.
It's like Bitcoin in 2012. Like the Silk Road was just popping off, and that was still it was still underground. That's where Nostr is right now. Check it out. And I think the pace of development on Nostr it's way faster than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, since it's a monetary protocol, it's much harder to make changes. Nostr, anybody can build anything. And going back to that Routester application, like that's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bitcoin Space 2 is asking an audience question. I am tempted to get a Strike loan, but I'm trusting them 100% to custody my BTC. Unchained's custody seems superior. I love Jack, but got trouble trusting him to hold the Bitcoin. I'll answer it.
I can step in if you want to.
First of all, disclosure, 1031 is the largest investor in Strike, and we're one of the largest investors in Unchained. I love both teams. I love both products. I stand behind the products that 1031 stands behind, unless I say otherwise. And, no matter what, loans have inherent risk. And I want people to be very careful about taking out any kind of loans on their Bitcoin. People have lost serious money in terms of Bitcoin going down and their collateral losing value and them not being able to meet a margin call and getting liquidated. So loans have inherent risk. If you do, but they can be very useful tools, right? You're getting around cap gains tax. You're able to leverage your Bitcoin savings to spend on things you need in life without actually selling your Bitcoin. And if you do it in a very deliberate way and you're very careful and conservative about it, it can be a very useful tool. So that's the first thing first on that. Now, with Unchained, you get the benefit of being able to see your collateral directly on chain. So you're one of three in a multisig. Unchained is one of the other keys, and one of their partners is the third key. They still have control over the Bitcoin. They can liquidate it at will, but you're able to see the Bitcoin on chain and prove that it's still there. What Strike brings to the table is way better interface, way less friction in using it. I think Unchained right now, you need to create an LLC to get a loan, that they won't give it straight out to individuals. Strike will pretty soon have significantly lower rates than Unchained. I think they already have lower rates than Unchained. Now, the real concern I think people have after last cycle is that a lot of services were rehypothecating Bitcoin. So they were taking your Bitcoin collateral and then they were lending it out to degens. And part of the reason they were doing this is because they were offering a yield product, which is separate from the Bitcoin loan product, right? The yield product is this idea of you give Bitcoin and then they give you a return denominated in Bitcoin over time. They give you, percentage points, 6%, 7%, 8%. Neither Unchained or Strike offers this. Unchained, for a fact, are not rehypothecating because you can see it on chain and you can see they're not lending out your Bitcoin. Jack has said that Strike is not rehypothecating. Full stop. Jack has stated this. And I will state the same. I'm not aware of any rehypothecation going on. The goal with Strike ultimately is to add proof of reserves and make that statement, a stronger statement through the use of proof of reserves. I will just say that, I know that the Strike team is taking very seriously the responsibility of custodying people's Bitcoin. But ultimately, that is a choice that people need to make on their own. There's never been a team that I've worked with that has had the level of integrity and focus and drive as the Strike team. Like, they are incredibly impressive to work with. They want this product to be the best, most responsible version of Bitcoin collateralized loans possible. And I think, the haters should give them a little time to build it out, and the people that want to use it can use it in the meantime, based on their own due diligence. Very long-winded answer. But anyway, I would use Strike over Unchained in this particular situation, just to make it a short answer.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's different. I'll come to the defense of Unchained here. Like, Unchained, if you're running a business, we do it at TFTC. I've taken out loans from Unchained to reinvest in this business. It's worked out well. Very simple experience. Hold our treasury into 2 or 3 multi-sig, and then have the ability to get loans. Yes, it's only for businesses. Right now, different flavors for different people, different user experience. But the point being, whether it comes to, like, you have to understand too, I think is another important part. If you're engaging in a Bitcoin collateralized loan, there is a contractual agreement between you and the lender, which is like, hey, if I'm going to give you these dollars, you need to put your Bitcoin in this wallet, which legally we have control of over the duration of the loan, just so that we know if you run away with the money that we give you and you don't pay us back, we have principal that we can sweep and make sure that we recover our principal. So those who get all in a tizzy, like, why can't I custody the Bitcoin and just get a loan out on it? It's like, well, that's not how any of this works. Like, you are engaging in a financial contract with a counterparty. And there's 2 sides to that.
Yeah, it's collateral for the loan, right? So, like, usually if you go and take a fiat loan from a bank, they do a credit check on you. There's all this different aspects. Most people's, their number one loan type is getting a loan on their house, right? A mortgage. And the whole point of the collateral is that if the person lending you the money isn't paid back, they can take your collateral. That is how this whole thing works. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that people have this product set up, right? This idea of, I think ultimately long term, Bitcoin is the best collateral. We are going to see Bitcoin loans is going to be like one of the main use cases of Bitcoin. Like, people are going to be there's going to be loan book amounts are going to be billions and trillions of dollars, and probably at some point, definitely at some point, it's just going to be all measured in Bitcoin, because why would you measure it in dollars? But everyone has all these different setups for how they want to do it. And a lot of them are just adding a bunch of technical complexity for marketing points, in my opinion. And ultimately at the end of the day, what people are looking for is you have to trust a counterparty. You're trusting a counterparty. It's a reputation game, and they want something that has as little friction as possible in terms of having dollars in your bank account that you can then use for your everyday life, whether that's like paying off a mortgage or paying off a car or something like that. Or buying, frozen cherries for your son. And so, but these things they inherently have risk, and I'm not going to downplay that risk. Like, you have to make your own decision. But I will just say that both groups, Strike and Unchained, it's something that it's the number one thing they're constantly thinking about, which is don't lose customer money.
Yeah. And we discussed this. I discussed this with Adam and Sean Bill from Blockstream yesterday. Like, I've said this for years, and it hasn't materialized yet, but I do think in the long run, these multi-institutional multi-sigs for escrow of collateral should be the standard. Will it become? Yet to be seen, but I think if you're an end consumer engaging with a counterparty and you're looking to engage with a counterparty that is distributed risk as much as possible and limited risk as much as possible, like, multi-institution, multi-sig makes the most sense to me. And this is not to say that anybody doing single institution MPC or their own internal multi-sig is doing anything nefarious, but I just think from a risk distribution and limiting standpoint, like, that is what would make me most comfortable. And I don't think we will see that as an industry or as a financial system until it's demanded by the public. So I think we should go that way. It would make the most sense to me. Like if you look at what's going on with Coinbase, getting all the ETF Bitcoin, all of Sailor's Bitcoin, or a lot of Sailor's Bitcoin, like that's, even if they have for 12 years, whatever, had a pristine record of properly securing Bitcoin on their institutional side, like it's still, there's better ways to do it, and you don't want to basically have a ton of Bitcoin that is under the control of one entity. That's what I would say.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I love multi-sig, and multi-institutional multi-sig makes a lot of sense for a lot of these things. I think we'll get there eventually.
Last note on this too.
Like,
if you are going to take a Bitcoin back loan out, make it a small percentage of your stack. If you don't have enough,
yeah, it should be tiny. There's no way in a user positive way that a striker on chain can like mandate a percent amount of your full stack without knowing your full stack size that you can take a loan out. But there's like in practice, that's how you should be thinking about it. It should be a very small subset, and the big thing is for a lot of people is this is how they're avoiding cap gains tax, which is effectively a savings tax for their everyday expenses. And this is something that rich people do all the fucking time with their stocks and their other assets. And it really shows the true predatory nature of cap gains tax. Cap gains tax is effectively a savings tax that's only focused on the middle class, because wealthier people borrow to get around it, and poor people don't have savings, so they don't get taxed on their savings. And it's literally just purely focused on the middle class. And this is probably the main reason right now why this tool is in such demand by people. Long term, it'll probably be used more for like people that want to start businesses and stuff like that. But my guess is right now the overwhelming majority of people are using it is for small time expenses to legally avoid paying savings tax. And I see True Gen T saying, I don't understand why someone would lock up their Bitcoin for $1 loan while normal banks are giving them out. Yeah, I mean, I think if you can get a loan from a bank like a HELOC or something like that in a hyperinflationary environment denominated in dollars with collateral that is not Bitcoin, you do it 100%. Like that makes sense. A lot of people don't own houses. A lot of people can't get larger loans of that type, or they've already maxed that out, right? They're already running a 30-year mortgage, and
yeah, I think if you're using Bitcoin as your main savings account, that's where you keep. I mean, like the pushback on that was like you can't get loan scale if you want scale and you have the ability to do it. It may be harder to get that through a traditional banking system, especially if you hold Bitcoin as your main savings vehicle, because as it stands today, maybe that changes in the future. It seems like it is changing, but banks typically don't recognize like Bitcoin as an asset they like to lend against.
No. I don't know any banks that will lend against with Bitcoin as
not even lend against it, but consider it like a credit profile.
No, if anything, they'll treat you worse if they know you're holding a large percentage of your assets in Bitcoin.
Yeah. If you are and you're self-custodying that Bitcoin, you probably want to use multi-sig if you want to do it in the most user-friendly and private way. You want to use Sparrow Wallet. Sparrow Wallet version 2.2.0, looks like no BS Bitcoin. We're doing some fixing on the go here. The image does not match the headline here.
No, it's because he announced Sparrow v2.2 and made it for that, but then immediately released a bug fix for it.
Okay, so there's been a bug fix. You get recent blocks view, improved camera, Tor, and P2A updates. For those who are unaware, Sparrow Wallet is an incredible desktop wallet that enables you to connect hardware wallets, create PSBTs, broadcast those. It is my everyday desktop wallet. Shout out to Sparrow Wallet team.
Sparrow's amazing. If you haven't used Sparrow, consider using it. It supports every major hardware wallet. As Marty said, it makes multi-sig very easy. If you want to upgrade to multi-sig, you can use it for a hot wallet without a hardware wallet. Very powerful, relatively user-friendly, good interface. You can use it with your own node really easily. Check it out.
Check it out. Moving on, wallets. Cake Wallet version 4.28 has been released with PayJoin v2 support. It's pretty big for Cake Wallet. PayJoin, we've discussed many times throughout the years here. It enables anybody sending and receiving Bitcoin, if you have PayJoin enabled, to create a coin join out of the box, which is good for disrupting common input chain heuristics used by chain surveillance companies. So if many wallets and merchants were to enable something like PayJoin, it would make it so that the privacy of individual Bitcoiners and the network at large would increase significantly. So the more PayJoin adoption we see, the better. And it looks like Cake Wallet has implemented PayJoin v2.
Yeah, so now they have PayJoin and simple payment and silent payments integrated. Two nascent privacy improvements to Bitcoin. Hopefully we'll see more wallets support them, so you don't need like another Cake Wallet user to be able to pay. Right now, I know on the PayJoin side, Wasabi supports this spec. I don't know who else does. But yeah, the Cake Wallet team in general they've been shipping, man. It's impressive.
Yeah. No, in these release notes on nobsbitcoin.com, mentioned Bull Bitcoin too. They were one of the first to implement this.
Oh,
Bull
awesome.
Bitcoin Wallet v0.4.0. It introduced PayJoin v2 support late last year. However, the current implementations are not interoperable at the moment, an issue that should be addressed in the next release of Bull Bitcoin Wallet. So Bull Bitcoin should be
Awesome.
imminently upgraded for this as well.
That's awesome.
Blue Wallet version 7.1.8 has been released, and it brings numerous bug fixes, dependency updates, and a new search feature for addresses and transactions. Another great wallet. A lot of wallets this week.
Love to see it.
Nunchuck Android version 1.9.68.1 and iOS version 1.9.79 have been released, and they introduce support for custom blockchain explorers, wallet archiving, reordering wallets on the home screen via long press, and an anti-fee sniping setting. Anti-fee sniping setting. What does that do?
I don't know. Sounds cool though.
Yeah. Anti-fee sniping. Is that like an MEV thing?
I have no idea, but it sounds dope.
To prevent fee sniping, when Bitcoin Core creates transactions, it uses nlock time to limit them to the next block by default. In our scenario, Bitcoin Core would set n. Fee sniping occurs when a miner deliberately remines one or more previous blocks in order to take the fees from the miners who originally created those blocks. Interesting.
Oh.
Bitcoin Optech. But why would a wallet introduce something to protect?
Isn't that a
miners
reorg?
themselves? Yeah. Even with a block size limit, a dishonest miner doesn't need to use the exact same set of transactions, including the block that they're attempting to remine. They can replace any low fee rate transaction in that block with a higher fee rate. Mempool is a benefit of burying higher fee rate transactions further back in the chain, where other dishonest miners will have to work harder to remine. I don't know why a wallet would put this in the...
I don't know. I'm sure Hugo has his reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and figure it out live.
I'm reading from Bitcoin Optech right now. We haven't given a shout out to Bitcoin Optech in a while.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah.
Great way to stay up to date on technical Bitcoin stuff.
Well, they released their most recent newsletter on Tuesday, or this might be their podcast. This is their podcast. There was a vulnerability disclosure affecting old versions of Bitcoin Core. This is that's from late April, so it's old news.
I see Bitcoin Space and 2 brings up that price always seems to be dumping when Bitcoin Magazine has their big conference every year. This year might be different.
Don't say it. You just said it. Not you.
I mean, first of all, for the sake of all my Bitcoiner buddies who are going, I wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the price to be dumping while you're all in Vegas. Like, you could use a little humility while you're there. It's a little bit concerning to me that it might be pumping like crazy while you're there. That's when bad decisions are made. But 2019, we were pumped during the Bitcoin conference. That was the only year we pumped during it. And honestly, like, Nashville last year was pretty bullish event. I mean, I think we didn't pump directly during it, but
no, we waited for after the election to pump.
But it was still pretty big.
Does anybody in the comments, or Matt, do you have advice for a young lad traveling to Vegas for the first time?
Go to sleep at 9 p.m.
Okay. I'm going to try. I've been trying to tell myself.
There's no way you're going to. This is the number one piece of advice.
I've been telling myself I'm going to sip and stare, maybe not drink, but we'll see. Keep it in the cage. Keep it in the cage, Marty.
Yeah, there's 2 major events happening next week. So HRF is doing their yearly Oslo Freedom Forum, and then at the same time, Bitcoin Magazine is doing their Vegas event. And I think there's a Bitcoin conference in Ireland, in 2 days.
What?
But I don't know. There's so many conferences.
Shout out to all you Irish freaks out there. Enjoy the conference.
Yeah.
All right, we've got 2 more software updates on the list. Nostr, one of the worst names of a Nostr app out there. Version 1.2, 1.0. Great app, terrible name. Nostr client for Mac, iPhone, iPad. They added support for follow packs, Blossom servers, uploading and mirroring, post previews for picture-only post, an audio-only bar, and other enhancements. So go check it out. And
Nostr with the U.
Do you think they'll ever change their name? Are we going to bully them hard enough to?
They should add 2 years. Nostr with 2 years.
Would Tur Demister take a?
I don't know. So this guy, the maybe he would. The maintainer of Nostr is named Fabian. Fabian. I don't know. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I appreciate you regardless. He asked for better names, and none of the suggestions were very good. Like, I don't like what I think we need to be positive about it. Like, if you want him to change his name, what should he change the name to?
Right.
He basically took community recommendations. He was like, these all suck. I'm just going to continue.
Yeah, we judge the bad names, but do we have good name ideas? Can we think of this?
I got nothing for him.
You have a distributed communications protocol. You got servers, notes and other stuff transferred over relays. Yeah, I don't know. Rutson. Just completely reverse it. Spell it backwards. Rutson. I think
Horrible.
That might be it.
Horrible name.
Rutson.
Horrible name.
Zap me on Rutson. I like it. I think you should A/B test it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fabian, you should A/B test it. Oh, we knew this was coming.
What?
Telegram shares data on 22,777 users in Q1 2025, a significant increase from the 5,826 users data shared during the same period in 2024. We warned you guys when did this happen? Like last September, last August?
Last year.
We were in Riga when it happened. When Pavel.
Yes, it was August.
Yeah. We were at the Nostriga and the Baltic Honey Badger conference when Telegram's founder got ganked by the FBI and was released not too long after making some concessions to the U.S. government. That
Wait, it wasn't the FBI.
Who was it? The DOJ?
It was France. It was Paris.
I think he was caught there, but wasn't it U.S. entities? Or
No, it was like Interpol or some shit.
okay,
I don't know. The feds in France. Who arrested Pavel Durov? French authorities.
French authorities. I thought it was at the behest of the DOJ or something like that.
I mean,
like a Five Eyes thing.
I'm sure they were involved, but technically it was Europe.
Okay. Minute detail. He got released after making concessions, saying we'll be more open to sharing data with you. And this confirms that. They certainly were more open.
Yeah, I mean, this is at least the data we know about. But yeah, I mean, Telegram, while an amazingly powerful and easy to use app, that is very impressive that he's built with such a small team. It's like one of those things that's like, I'm like so torn on. Should be treated as spyware. Like it is, the amount of data collection it does is just fucking crazy. And it's very hard to delete stuff that is stored there. Nothing is encrypted by default. If you do the optional encrypted chats, it uses a proprietary encryption algorithm. The default app is not open source, although you can use an open source client. There is an open source app for it, but still hits their servers. I don't know. I'm a big delete guy. I just deleted Telegram last year before he was arrested, but I understand if you want to use it. Just be aware of the risks.
I still have it. I don't use it that much. I got to delete it. It's complete trash. It's like worse than email spam these days.
Yeah, I just like deleting things.
Yeah. No, it is weird. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch too, but it is weird. Like there is this misnomer out there that Telegram is end-to-end encrypted, is a privacy preserving app. It's done a really good job of SIAPing, which makes me think it's a massive honeypot. Whereas Signal,
that's the fucked up part.
Whereas Signal, like Tucker, after the U.S. government found out he was wanting to interview Putin, he blamed Signal for that, and basically went out and publicly stated that they were backdoored, which is not the case. His iPhone was backdoored by likely Pegasus software.
Or like the Russian spook he was talking to's iPhone was backdoored.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing an encrypted message, you need both devices to not be compromised. If one side is compromised, or in a group chat, like the US government, if you accidentally add a reporter into your group chat, then they can read all of your messages. Signal is not perfect, but it's quite good. And probably the most disappointing thing about the whole Telegram situation is framing it as a privacy-focused app when it really isn't at all.
Yeah. So beware. Matt, I think the clickbait worked. We have Otterpop, not OTTODD, Otter Pop in the YouTube chat. I just started from the beginning. I fell for the clickbait. Hey, if you made it this far,
you know how YouTube chat works. We see, like, he could just be watching in the beginning right now still, but he put the chat in.
No.
So he won't even know that.
No, I'm saying Otterpop. If you make it this far after starting from the beginning, thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, but that'll be in like an hour or something, unless he's listening on like 2x.
That'll be in.
He'll be aware.
An hour and 30 minutes. Yeah. It was the best 90 minutes of your life, Otterpop. I know that for sure.
I don't like it.
I don't either. I don't like it. Is it worth it though? Is it worth it to get this message? Should more people know about Telegram? The differences between Telegram and Signal. Should they know the dangers of MSTY and over-levering yourself with Bitcoin-backed loans? Is it worth the clickbait to get this information to the people? I don't know either. I feel like it is. Am I just justifying it because I'm a vain person who likes to see the number of views go up? I don't know. Maybe. If I'm being honest with myself, I do like when the views are higher. But I also do think the information's good. A conundrum.
Yeah. I mean, we just need to obsolete all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
I think we can do it.
YouTube is just like, YouTube's the hardest one to cut out because YouTube is just
Well,
they have apps on everything. It makes it so easy to like watch on your TV and stuff. Like,
but did you see what I mean? The Google AI stuff. Did you see the release?
oh shit, impressive, man.
Well, that's like the thing. Like, how can you catch it? Like, as everybody's like, OpenAI, they brought in Johnny Ivey. They've bought Windsurf. Like, many people are saying like, there's no way especially after the impressive release they just did yesterday. Like the thought of anybody catching up with them, considering the distribution channels they have to get this technology out there, be YouTube, Gmail, whatever it may be. It's like fuck. Somebody may have to get the Sergey Brin and be like, "Yo, dude, can you turn into a good person?"
This is what I was saying to Marks, which I think, he might have taken it the wrong way. But like the bigger concern to me is the actual like if OpenAI can't compete with Google, like fuck OpenAI. Like I just do not give a shit. Like world's smallest violin, I'll play for them. But the problem is with these tools is users are at a strict disadvantage if you don't use like the surveilled, controlled Google AI version. Like, did you see the privacy policy is straight up, we're harvesting all your data. Like, they're not even pretending they're not doing it. But so if you're a user and you're able to make full-length feature films and shit because Google's AI is so much better, but you have to give up and be a slave to use it, then the people that aren't doing that are at a strict disadvantage, a significant disadvantage. And so the goal, I think, if we actually want actionable change, is to make freedom-oriented tools that ideally are as good or better, but at the very least, not that much shittier. Like you got to close the gap. The gap needs to be closed so that people aren't at a disadvantage if they don't want to be a slave. It's hard, difficult.
No, I mean this gets to the broader conversation of the singularity in general. Like if we ever do, I think many people question whether or not AGI ASI will materialize, and even if it does, on what timeline. But if and when it does, you have that, like the people who get chipped and become one with the machines have a severe advantage over. And I guess this is just a manifestation of that in a not as direct way, but it's very
This is all just different flavors of do you or do you not put clickbait titles on your YouTube on your YouTube videos. Obviously, like there's different extremes to it, but
yeah. But if we didn't put it, like 4,000 less people would be hearing this message of don't get chipped, don't give in. No, but I have been having a lot of conversations about AI and the future, and I think to your point, the most optimistic outcome would be if we begin to trend away from these monolithic LLMs and get the basically 1,000 very specific contextualized models that do very specific things, and you have this network of agents, and you don't depend on Google to build all the smaller models, which are easier to train and get out to market. You can do it as an individual, as a smaller company, as somebody competing with them with better values, and instead of just trusting the monolithic Gemini AI that connects to YouTube, Gmail, whatever it may be, you put in the hard work. It's probably going to take time to reach parity, but building these very specific models with very specific contexts that can collaborate with each other to produce the same outcome that something like Gemini or OpenAI could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense to me. I mean, I think what we really need is, because everything has trade-offs, we need to give users as many options as possible. And obviously, everything I look at has the perspective of something, of the perspective that I come from as a Bitcoiner, right? Because we've been Bitcoiners for so long, and obviously that's where the majority of my open source experience has been. But like, so to use Bitcoin as an example, right now the majority of new users are coming into IBIT and MSTR and SR, Strife and shit like that, and Metaplanet, or they're coming in through like a Coinbase, or they're coming in through a Binance, and they're just keeping their money there, right? Or they're taking out loans. Maybe they're going to take out loans on their IBIT position, or they're going to do this or do that. Now, having something like Strike, even though it's centralized, even though it's regulatory compliant and has KYC and identification stuff, 90% of Bitcoin bought on Strike is self-custodied, right? You don't see those kind of stats on someone buying IBIT or buying MSTR or buying on Coinbase. Coinbase, I don't know what their self-custody stats are, but I doubt they're very high. But it's much easier to do a seamless, frictionless, easy to use experience if you're centralized and regulatory compliant. But then at the same time, we have things like Peach, HODL, RoboSats, right? Where they're more freedom oriented and they're more open, but they come with their own trade-offs. And ideally, users have many different options where they can go through all of those, and they'll each kind of empower people so that they don't have to just go and sign into their Chase account to get Bitcoin exposure or whatever it is. And I think it's kind of similar with AI, right? It's like, I think, it would be nice to see stuff like Routester take off, and hopefully they will, where you're using Nostr AI and Bitcoin with a bunch of different small models and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think there's a place for something like what OpenSecret's building, where you have an incredibly centralized, trusted third party that is trying their best to do it in the most user-forward way and accepts Bitcoin instead of accepting credit cards, so the user's not bagged and tagged, right? And like those are like the little things. So there's there's some nuance here, and I think we got to try all the things and provide users as many options as possible.
Yeah. Well, on that point too, Logan, pull up this tweet. Very good news from OpenSecret, which is the fact that they've been accepted into NVIDIA's Inception, which is basically a program that NVIDIA has for startups working on AI tools and products. And so NVIDIA has decided to basically support OpenSecret with access to cheap GPUs, discounted GPUs, and sort of white glove service with their engineers to help them build what they're trying to do with their confidential compute inside the secure enclaves on these GPUs. So that's a good sign. At least NVIDIA seems to care, or is feigning worry about non-confidential compute.
Nice. Huge shout out to those guys. They've been crushing it.
Really have. That's all I got. Logan, you got anything you want to talk about? Did you go swing dancing this week?
I'll do that tonight.
You do that tonight?
Thursday nights.
For any of you freaks who don't know, Logan is a prolific swing dancer.
I'm bringing my parents today.
You're bringing your parents?
They're in town.
Nice. Hell yeah.
That's fun.
All right, do you have to warm up? Do you stretch?
A bit.
Okay, he stretches. That's good to
know. On the Google AI stuff, did you see the Google Meet Translate feature? That was crazy.
It's insane, dude. Well, that's actually, it's funny. Again, going back to clickbait. It's not even clickbait, but within like a month or two on YouTube, they're going to turn that on, and anybody's going to be able to listen to us in any language they want.
And we won't have to do shit.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, fuck, but we'll have to monetize. If you don't have monetization enabled, you can't get it.
Anybody listening in your native language, don't fall for the MLM scheme that they're putting on here before you. Just stay humble, stacks ads.
All the ads are scams. They're going to do that. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like this is what people don't realize. And I'm not trying to be a downer. Like, I very focused on trying to be part of the solution and improving it. But it doesn't matter how good your models are. Like, if to do real-time translation in a privacy-focused way is just so much more difficult. It is like infinitely more difficult than do it in a way that just hoovers up all your data. It's not even close. And that's what we're going to see Google and these other big dogs play out. So we'll see. I think it's accelerating. It feels like it's very much accelerating.
It certainly is. I was talking to somebody here at the park too. It's like, yeah, I think it's becoming clear that to some degree, like the nature of the reality of the world as we've known it for the most of our lives is going to come into question if the pace of acceleration continues. Very weird. And it's two people with young children. I imagine you feel this too, but like looking at them and looking at all this going on, it's like, what the fuck is the world going to look like for you in 10 years?
Dude, I mean, forget about the stuff that we can't even comprehend yet. Just the amount of fake shit that people can, quote unquote, make us say based on the years of Rabbit Hole Recap. We're so fucked. Like, it's not even, I don't. We've probably said every word in the dictionary, and it's all there.
They don't even need us to
the
say
database is there.
I think it's getting so good. Like you wouldn't even need a corpus of content like we've built over the course of 7 years to produce. Did you see one of the Barstool guys, Roan? Somebody went to my high school. Shout out Roan. He was a senior when I was a freshman, but now he's like a big Barstool personality. And his Twitter got hacked, and he launched a meme coin. The hackers launched a meme coin, and they had a reply to the meme coin tweet with a video of him holding up like name, date, hash of like the latest Solana block, and it looked like it was Roan.
Oof.
Yeah.
But he have a lot of video of himself or no?
He does. Yeah, he does video podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't believe any of that shit, freaks. It's going to get bad.
And it's like, this is something we've been talking about for years. Like when Vitalik did that, when he like held up the hash, and I was like, how do we know that's not
I'm alive?
Fake? Yeah, and that was like before people were even thinking about deepfakes. I remember one of the first questions I asked Drew Bansal from Unchained was like, how do you prevent like deepfakes if you're doing like video calls and stuff like that? And this was in like 2018. He's like, we don't have to worry about that. 7 years forward, you have to worry about that. And I don't even think...
Definitely have to worry about it.
I don't even think somebody like Rowan, like that whole... I don't want to call them normies, but people that aren't focused on all of this, I don't even think they understood the gravity of what was happening there in terms of like how advanced this is.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. Lean into it. We're an open water Bitcoin. Let's not end on a depressing note. Numbers going up. At the very least, you can unplug. You can throw your phone out the window. You can turn the camera off. Touch grass. Get some nice sun. Talk to your children. Talk to your wife. Talk to your husband. Your friends. Your neighbors. Touch. Feel. Know that they're real. Pretty soon the robots are gonna have flesh skin too. It's gonna be hard. So enjoy like being able to physically know that somebody's an actual person, not a robot, while we still can. But yeah, enjoy it. Have fun.
I forgot about the robots. But Elon's been teasing them even more so lately, his like Optimus Prime robots or whatever. But I don't want to ruin your happy ending. Love you, freaks. Stay on Stack Sats.
Peace and love.